Hello YouTube, Tim here. Welcome to my improved studio. Right now the biggest change is of course the camera that I'm using. Several years ago I bought one for this very purpose, put in a studio and record videos right here in the basement. It never came to fruition until today. I'm very, very happy that I can finally share that with you. This is a big step in the right direction, leading to the possibility of me being able to do entire projects down here in a more controlled environment with a much higher quality imaging device, which I think was great for everyone. So I'm excited about that. But what I'm really down here for is to do another series of question and answers. This time just a few of them. The first is from Henry Ye, Y-E-H, again, sorry. It says, isn't 50 pounds kind of heavy for a horse bow, for a bow meant to be used for horseback archery? Yeah, that's absolutely true in general. It does depend on your goals. If you're trying to follow the example of Kasai Lajos Kasai, again, sorry, it's Hungarian, wonderful gentleman who's essentially single-handedly resurrected the entire sport of horseback archery, if it ever could be considered a sport. And he recommends bows in 30, 40 pound range, no more than say 45 pounds. I'm not certain why, presumably because it throws off your accuracy, it's just strenuous, and it's unnecessary for close range target shooting. You really don't need something like that, because horseback archery, the shooting that they're doing is not 100-yard shooting even, they're not even close to that, so it's unnecessary. When you really want power, typically is when you're shooting farther. And that's the major impetus for heavy bows throughout history. Heavier bows allow you to shoot farther than your enemy in general, or penetrate their armor, and they give you those advantages. If you're only shooting at targets, lighter bows are fine. Just my thoughts. If you're actually looking to replicate what the original horse archers that you're looking at did, then 50 pounds might not be heavy, it might be extremely light. Take, for example, the fact that a lot of the Hungarian, the Magyar bows that are found in graves have bone laths reinforcing the handles and the scias. The sharp, I guess, would be the Hungarian term. The ears of the bow, in other words. That's generally not needed in bows of 50, 60 pounds, even maybe 70 pounds. Very heavy bows, these would have to be if they required bone reinforcement of the wood. So my impression, and I think it's fairly well borne out, is that traditional horseback nomads used bows of 80 pounds to 160 pounds with regularity. 80 pounds would be a light bow. You'd be teased by all your friends. Puny, right? So if you're looking to recreate something accurately in a historical sense, that might be closer to accurate than using a 30-pound bow. Just my thoughts on the subject, and that's why I wanted a heavier bow. The other reason I chose 50 pounds specifically was because it was my very first bow that I ever bought commercially. So I wanted a bow that was substantial and heavier than the ones that I knew I was creating out of PVC, and yet not overwhelming. With the Mehmet Gelan bow, I stepped up a little bit to 60 pounds, that's the heaviest that he makes. Now I'd like to continue working out heavier bows, but it's just not possible at this moment. We don't have enough time to practice, and so on. So, I hope that answers your question, Harry. Great question. Daniel Rodriguez asks, hey Tim, love the video, but I want to make a good target bow, about 30 pounds and 28 inches. What do you recommend? First of all, thanks for writing, Daniel. I'd suggest you start off with a 48-inch piece of 3/4 inch Schedule 40 PVC. It's a normal length for a youth recurve bow. You can, with such a length, depending on how you taper it, get it anywhere between about 15 pounds and up to 45 pounds. 30 to 40 pounds is a very easy range to hit with that. And for that, I flatten with 2x4s, for the most part, and I try and flatten the handle so there's a slight indentation where I begin tapering it. That's 2.5 to 3 inches outside of the center, true center. And there's a minor indentation all the way down to a completely flat tip, all the way at the end. That's how I taper it. If you have no indentation, you'll be a little stronger, and if you have an extreme indentation, rather a very shallow taper, it's almost flat the whole way, you'll have an extremely weak, puny bow. Depending on what you need, I'd suggest something closer to the almost full, almost round profile. That would be ideal. And then the other thing that will determine your draw weight is how recurved the tips are. That will determine the weight in two ways. First, by leverage. If you have straight tips, your bow will start off longer, but you'll also lose leverage. The string angle will be higher, closer to 90 degrees and even greater, at the extreme ranges of the draw. That means you lose leverage in the pull. The mechanical advantage that you get is lost. And you're really pulling it inch for inch. The limbs are moving 1 inch for every inch you pull back at those extreme angles. Early on, you can pull it 3-4 inches and the tips are only moving an inch perhaps. So there's a big difference there. Recurves help you manage that, but they also make the tension a little higher. An extremely recurved bow, especially reflex in the handle, can raise the draw weight. Just go ahead and try tapering the limbs out. And then if you want to do minor adjustments, I'd suggest doing that by playing with the reflex in the handle. And I definitely suggest doing the recurves, especially for your early bows. It's a great way to make a nice, gentle shooting bow. Thanks for writing. And that's really all I have for today. Other people have written other questions, but I'll handle that in other videos. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to use you guys with more stuff like this.